was just the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Like, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Somebody hit somebody with a pie. Do something.
Giovanni yelling we're out of time as we go off the air.
Giovanni yelling a lot of things tonight.
And welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mark It Down podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this evening by James Asante, back here once again to review AEW Dynamite, coming off one of the best pay-per-views this company has ever had on Sunday in Double or Nothing. As we quickly say hi to Maria, what's going on? Thank you for joining us. As always, I hope you and everybody else who joins this evening had a great Memorial Day weekend. I know I did, which is why I was not here on Sunday.
Maria was very happy on Sunday when a certain CEO won. She was very happy.
I can imagine. Hand up, I was wrong. I honestly thought Jamie Hayter was going to take that, but we are going to get that, arguably the biggest women's match of all time at All In. And Jamie Hayter's got something else going on that we'll talk about later. But we're going to start tonight's show with the beginning of the show, which began as a in-ring promo from Hangman Adam Page. Obviously, Page just coming off his win of the Owen Hart tournament on Sunday, and now has the right to challenge Jon Moxley at All In. So one Toni Schiavone, who I've noticed the last few weeks has not been on commentary. I wonder why. But he introduces Hangman, and Hangman comes down and briefly recaps his tournament win before handing the mic off. Hangman starts off by saying that triumph in life is fleeting, but so is defeat. And then the past 2 years, or if he's being honest with himself, really the last 3 years, that's something that he's let himself lose sight of, because it's not the win or the loss. It's what you decide to do with it that matters. He then thanks Will Ospreay. Yeah, Hangman, he was a philosophizer this evening. Anyway, he then thanks Will Ospreay for the fight of his life, for reminding him of why he does this, and for dispelling any notion he had of Ospreay not being able to carry this company, because he absolutely can. And he was able to show Hangman that on Sunday. However, Hangman again calls his win fleeting, as there will be another Owen Hart tournament winner next year, and it is now time for him to return the belt, and he does so by handing it off to Toni Schiavone. Page then says he can sit here and talk all night about how much winning the tournament meant to him, but it's now time for him to look to the future and win the one thing that this has always been about for him, the AEW Men's World Championship. He says that the title has been the thing he has chased since he first saw the 3 letters of AEW, but it has now been handed away for 7 months when it's supposed to be a shining light to show that AEW is all about competition, creativity, compassion, passion, and the human dignity by which we treat each other. And he was very emotional during that line. He showed some great passion during this promo, including right there. And for this next line, too, where he says that on his first night, he told the fans that they would be his boss, and he makes a promise to all of them that at All In, he will win the AEW World Championship. He will free it from that briefcase. He will hold it above his head for everyone to see, and he will defend it with every ounce of his being. As he is kind of coming down off of that and getting a big cheer, his mood immediately shifts as the music of Swerve Strickland hits, and Swerve comes down, and Toni sees them go face-to-face and smartly bails out of the ring. Swerve then addresses why he's here, and he has the monkeys in the truck, pull up a video on the Tron of the Young Bucks declaring upon their return after, I believe it was Dynasty, explaining why they cost Swerve the championship, saying that they did so for Hangman. Swerve then recounts all of that happening, and he also reminds Hangman that he was in the ring that night as well. Swerve calls collusion, which for me and James is a very funny word, saying that it's convenient Hangman now has a clear path to the AEW title. And he reminds Hangman of the promise Hanger made, saying that he would prevent Swerve from ever holding the AEW championship again, before asking Page face-to-face, man-to-man, if he did this. Hangman calls him a dumbass. He just goes, well, dumbass. I went out there and I locked eyes with you, but then I locked eyes with Moxley, and for one godforsaken moment, I actually thought about helping you. However, Hanger says that if he wanted to cost Swerve the championship, he would have done it himself as he has done before. Swerve says that sounds good, but Hangman's still full of shit. And the two get right back in each other's faces. However, this prompts Will Ospreay to come out in an attempt to defuse the situation. Will turns to Swerve first after he kind of gets the guys apart and says that he doesn't like getting involved in Swerve's business as he's looked at him as a big brother throughout all of these years. But Swerve is actually wrong about Hangman. He says that Paige had a choice on Sunday, and Paige chose to go back to the ring, pick him up, and shake his hand, showing him that Hangman truly cares about this place. And it's also something that Swerve did for him last year in one of their first matches, one of Swerve's first matches, or actually one of Will's, first matches in AEW. Will then tells Swerve to look around because they've got one shot at this. And if they can make it easier for him, he, Swerve, and Hangman should all team up. And as Will says Hangman's name, Swerve slaps the mic out of his hands and tells Will that he will never work with Hangman before storming off. Will then tries to convince Paige that they all need to work together, but Hangman has the same sentiment as Swerve, and he also says that he will never work with Swerve, and he leaves, and Will is just left in the ring, frustrated as all hell, because there is a very clear path to taking down the Death Riders here, and these two men can't get out of their own way in order to do it. And James, that is the story right there. It's going to be Will attempting to pull these three men together. The three, I think, main characters of AEW right now, or at least face-wise, attempting to come together despite the fact that two of them have a massive blood feud, and them working together is going to take a lot more than Will Ospreay saying pretty please.
Yeah. I adored this, and it seems like a lot of people did. Fernando saying that this was a fire face-to-face segment.
What's up, Fernando?
What's up, Fernando? And Maria saying that this was an excellent promo as well. I completely agree with everybody. I thought this was incredible. I thought this was awesome. Every good word we could use, let's use it because it was that good.
All the platitudes.
Hangman, I'm running out of ways to say how good this guy is. I'm running out of ways to express how amazing he is and just how captivating he is. He shows on a week-to-week basis that they have just something so great with him, so genuine with him. And it's something that just inherently we as viewers are drawn to him and want to see him succeed. Swerve coming in and using the Young Bucks promo from however long ago, a month
about
ago,
5 weeks, I think.
Yeah, brilliant.
Sorry, it put a small soliloquy into the chat that I'm even gonna read, but then he's just like, "Sorry, I meant to say hi, guys." Hi, you know it. We gotta
right. We gotta read his. I sit and wonder, weak and weary, the Hangman and Swerve, not to team, I fear. The but I hear the key words, never ever, and not, I mark it down, and cheer for I predicted the partnership, I told you so.
Pure poetry.
Honestly, I'm starring that comment for us. That was beautiful.
Yes, you were right. I mean, we came around eventually, but yes, you were right.
But even then, we're not getting it for All In. We're not getting
a tag team
with Swerve. I could see Swerve teaming with Ospreay, which feels a little below both of them, unfortunately. But
if it's against the Bucks, I think it's high profile enough.
It's a marquee match that I still feel isn't how I would have ideally liked to use either Ospreay or Swerve.
Yes, but it'll be 5 stars and it'll be phenomenal. So, I mean, I'm not really going to sit here and complain. I know what you're saying. Like, they should and could, or they could and should both be in high profile singles matches. But if all the titles are wrapped up, then putting them against, the founders of the company, the top tag team heels, Hurt Syndicate excluded because they're not really heels, then yeah, I mean, I think that's a great place to put them if they decide to go that route.
So I love Swerve here. I love him using the Bucks. I love him. You could tell he doesn't want to, but he believes Hangman.
Yeah,
he does believe him. You could tell. Like he wants to think that Hangman is full of shit. He says it. He basically says it. He wants to believe that Hangman's his bad guy, but he knows deep down that he's not. And then Ospreay trying to be the mediator. Ospreay trying to say what we're all thinking, which is, guys, just get your shit together, dominate, save the day, because you're the only ones who can. Excellent work.
Yeah, you don't have to like.
Work.
Yeah, you don't have to like each other. Just can we end the Death Riders and then y'all can have it out later?
Yep.
Like that's all he's really asking. And they, like I said, they hate each other so much they can't even put aside their differences to take out the group of people they all actively hate at the moment.
And what's beautiful about this is it was so true to all of their characters. Hangman, who's on this redemption tour. Ospreay, who has made it known basically since day one in AEW that he wants this place to be as good as he knows it is. And he wants to protect this place because of how much he values it. And Swerve, who views himself as the leader of this company. All of it rang true to me, and all of it was just so satisfying to see, not culminate because we're not there yet, but to finally just come together in some way. So excellent way to start the show. I know that sometimes we go back and forth with AEW if we just want them to start with action or if we want them to start with a promo. If you're going to start with a promo and if you're going to start with a segment, this is the one to do it with. Yeah, this is the way to start a show.
Yeah, you can't do much better than this. And I actually kind of skipped a line in my recap that I really wanted to point out because Ospreay, during when he was talking to Swerve, he tells Swerve that he loves him, but people are starting to believe in them again in terms of like AEW and stuff. And he goes, it's not because of you. It's not because of me. It's because of him, pointing at Hangman. And I thought that was a really good line. Yeah, that was a very important line, I thought, as well, because Will, following his laws, he knows. He's like, look, it's this guy. Like, we'll be loved and people love us and we're helping, but he is the guy we have to follow.
He is the guy to write the show.
Yeah, because if you really think about it, you can kind of look at AEW's downswing as Hangman kind of got poorly booked there and was kind of not doing nothing, but almost middling.
Losing the title to CM Punk ruined the company.
yeah, because it kind of did start the downslope. And then, you say what you will about MJF's title reign. I liked it, but it unfortunately, was, part of a down period in the company.
Yeah.
And now look at this. Like, I know a big chunk of that is Hangman versus Swerve, so that, they're tied together with it. And Ospreay doing everything he's been doing. And then very recently, the return of Kenny Omega. I would even say this signing of like Speedball and Ricochet as well. Like, you've just had this great culmination of everything coming back up, but it again is kind of tied with the return to prominence of Hangman Adam Page, and it's both kayfabe right and like non-kayfabe right. So it's unbelievable, and I'm glad Ospreay pointed it out because we follow Hangman, and as he goes, we go, and the company goes.
Yep.
And it's nice to see Ospreay realize that that Hanger kind of needs to be the general here, and they need to fall in line to help him to take out Moxley and return the company to what it should be.
I completely agree. And he's the right guy to say all of these things.
Yep.
So it's interesting because you did call these guys the three faces of the company. The three main characters is what you said.
Yep.
And the truth is, like, is there a part of me that wants to see Kenny more involved in this story? Absolutely. Is there a part of me that feels like Darby should have been here? Yes. Just like there's also a part of me that thinks if he had not been hurt, Eddie Kingston would have played a much bigger part in this.
Yeah.
So, but these guys organically are in the spot that they belong in.
You getting a phone call?
No, I am. I don't know what's going on. Like my phone's not even calling. Just something's being weird. So I apologize.
We have a tornado warning. Like, what's going on?
I don't. The weather is so bad outside, so maybe that.
I know. I barely want to throw my garbage out later, but here we are.
So I'm all for these three being our guys, because the truth is, Kenny's going to have something incredible at All In, most likely, right? We all know, we all know.
Yeah, it's probably Okada.
Yeah, probably. And I'm sure that's fine. I'm sure it'll be okay.
Yeah.
And those other two, I mean, it's not Eddie's fault that he got hurt, but he's been gone. And Darby is bad at prioritizing. So it is what it is. And this is none of it feels like second place. None of it feels like, oh man, what a consolation prize. This feels like the way it should go.
Yes, 100%. So I was thrilled by this. It was absolutely unbelievable, like you said. So I think that this was a perfect way to kick off because we got some time. We got 45 days until All In. So this is a perfect way to kick it off, but they're going to have to kind of slow play us here because I do think a good part of this is not only going to be Hangman now feuding with Moxley especially as we get closer and closer to All In, but it's also going to be the story of Hangman, Will, and Swerve. So I think having those two combined stories is going to allow them to spread this out and do it properly and have it not feel too rushed nor too slow. Also, really quick, I was not calling the MJF title run mid. I was saying the rest of the company around it was not as good as it has been now. But we said at the time it wasn't the best, and there was a lot of injuries. So that time was what it was. We're back now, baby. So who cares? All right. After this, we had a quick recap of Anarchy in the Arena, and I just want to say that when the bodies to the floor drop is the greatest thing I've ever seen in all of wrestling.
I'm going to need a second. I'm having some weather technical difficulties. I'll be right back. All right.
Okay. You have fun. Yeah, it's a real stormy here in the hood. So, all right. Well, honestly, then I'm going to take a second to talk about Anarchy in the Arena because I didn't get to talk about it and I want to because I was at the Jersey Shore watching this late when all my friends went to sleep, and the difficulty in not waking everybody up when all of this was happening, especially the when the body's the floor part, was incredibly difficult because I was basically running outside and then screaming and then coming back in so I wouldn't wake people up. It was nuts. I loved every second of it. Mark Briscoe coming out at the end, just out of the ambulance, is one of the funniest things I ever saw. Just still covered in his own blood. But he is the man. Give him all of the things. It was so much fun. All right. That's all I really had for it, but I wanted to get that off my chest. Anyway, after this, we had our first match of the evening, which was a mixed tag match between Speedball, Mike Bailey, Mark Briscoe, and Willow Nightingale versus Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir of the Death Riders and Gabe Kidd. Real quick note on Gabe Kidd, and I'll probably bring this back up when James comes back. They haven't mentioned he's Bullet Club, which has been interesting, but we'll see. Anyway, I did like that the Death Riders, once again, they basically pulled up to the arena for their entrance and walked right in, which is really cool. This time they had Claudio driving the pickup truck with everybody in the back, so they all hopped up and Claudio had to go park. We also had Chris Statlander shown during this match about halfway through and then a little towards the end. As she was watching, Excalibur mentioning again that she's been having her back and forth with Willow lately. Anyway, we'll jump to the end here as we get James back on the pod. Hello. So after Mike Bailey got a tag from Willow, or actually before the end of the match, because Bailey got a tag from Willow and then Yuta distract the ref by sliding a chair in the ring, and that allowed him to push Bailey off the top rope, and then Bailey got grabbed by Kidd and put through the timekeeper's table, which I thought was going to be a lot worse, but then they went to commercial, and I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, towards the end of the match, after Kid kicked out of a froggy bow from Briscoe, Mark tried to J-driller, but Kid countered. And then Claudio finally got back from parking the pickup truck to distract Mark. However, fucking Commander came out of nowhere.
Really out of nowhere.
By the time the camera cut, he was already up on the opposite turnbuckle, ran all the way across the rope, and dove onto Claudio, and then the two fought to the back. So that was that. However, the distraction was enough for Moxley, and he snuck in, got in a quick tag, and came in, hit a paradigm shift onto Briscoe, and then locked in the Bulldog choke. Kid and Shafir then got Bailey and Nightingale into submissions of their own, and Moxley forced Briscoe to tap out to pick up the win. So, as Excalibur said, James, a modicum of revenge for the Death Riders after their loss on Sunday. But a very good match. I thought everyone looked strong. Shafir, I think, had one of the few woman on man spots as she suplexed Bailey and almost dropped him right on his head, which I don't think was her fault.
That was terrifying.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where, like, she's just taller than her, and it just, probably didn't work properly. But whatever. He was fine. Yeah, Bailey took some bumps in this one. But no, this was a lot of fun, Like, I don't have really much else to say about that. I just enjoyed this match.
It was fun for what it is.
Maria.
That's fun. Yeah, Maria. I was a little bummed to see Mark lose 2 in a row.
True.
And we were talking about this when we were covering the pay-per-views, Danny and I. Mark has this ability to just basically shake off any loss just because of how good he is, how believable he is, and his ability to get the crowd behind him to make us think he could win. But for that to work, he needs to get wins from time to time.
Yeah, he needs to work.
It's not like he's never won. I mean, he won the Ring of Honor World Championship, and he had a good little run with the belt there for a while. But he needs some high-profile wins on AEW television. And it makes the losses a little bit more palatable. It makes him being in the spot he's in more believable. Don't acknowledge his comment. I know you saw it. Don't.
All right. No, I agree with you. I guess he did take back-to-back losses. There was that little spot in the middle there where he triumphantly returned after his ambulance match during Anarchy the Arena, which I was just talking about, and basically saved the day from Gabe Kidd. Not to mention, he essentially did have Kidd beat in this match if he hits that J-Driller. I know Kidd did kind of counter it, but a big chunk of that was Claudio interfering. So, you can argue he was still well protected, and he usually is. But yeah, he is rubber when it comes to his booking. Like, everything they throw at him bounces off, and the people are still going to love him. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, it does because it's AEW, and wins and losses do kind of matter. But for the most part, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
I got Eric saying that he didn't like how all of these guys had matches after Sunday. It's insanity. I don't know where you've been, but that's kind of what AEW does. Or a lot of times.
And realistically, Speedball just had a match with Okada. Willow didn't take that much damage in the matchup. Shafir did, but not like anything that wouldn't be able to have a match a few days later.
Yeah, she like bladed, and then like Willow kind of got her once or twice, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, and like sure, Mark Briscoe for sure. Like he went through hell in that ambulance match or in that stretcher match. But I could also buy it because it is Mark Briscoe, and he is the guy who lost in this matchup.
Yeah.
And the other two people are John Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli. No, who was the third man? It wasn't Claudio. It was Gabe Kidd, who wasn't in the match. So realistically, the only hard sell here is Mox. And it's John Moxley.
Yeah. And this is what he does.
Yeah, so I get the logic behind what Eric is saying, but when you look at the stats for this, when you look at the facts of it, it makes total, like, it's not outside the realm of realism.
Yeah, I also think I saw a report, too, where there were a couple of people who are banged up from Sunday, so this might have been a hey, who's available and wants to wrestle kind of night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially because, as my lower third says, tonight was absolutely the cigarette after the romp that was Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
You know, like tonight was a much more subdued episode of Dynamite. So to have some big names in that match was kind of important.
Yeah, I'm just from Fightful Select. Yeah, some of the members of the AEW roster are banged up following Double or Nothing. A lot of talent waiting on clearance from on-site medical. Young Bucks are hurting. Nick Jackson might have a concussion, although that's not official. Hayter and Ospreay are fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine after what happened with Hayter tonight.
Yeah. Also, I think I saw another report from, I think it was from Fightful, that everyone's really, really happy after Sunday backstage. So they're probably all raring to go anyway. You know what I mean?
Maria's saying it was better than Raw still and NXT. I don't even want to talk about NXT if I'm good.
James has a headache from NXT.
Oh.
I didn't even check on the highlights for Raw at all. And then I saw everyone bugging on the NXT stuff, so I checked those. But yeah, I couldn't care after Sunday. Like, not that I don't want to, but like I'm just so in on the AEW train. Like, I just did not care about WWE this week.
I was telling someone earlier, it's like I watched 3 pay-per-views this week, and between a WWE pay-per-view, an NXT pay-per-view, and an AEW pay-per-view, I could quite honestly say I don't think the best match WWE or NXT put on was really even near the level of like one of the worst matches AEW had put on.
I believe it.
Like maybe you could say Jordan Grace and Stephanie Backer, but not really. Not really.
Well, I mean, you know, Saturday Main Event is just like it's a glorified house show anyway. You know, it's not even really a pay-per-view. But yeah, the other two, yeah, I can see like NXT not living up to AEW. But granted, it is technically developmental. So Eric's saying they're happy, but apparently agree that the show is too long.
See, but I'm sure they believe that, but then they're going to complain when they're not on the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry that I got to work today. Come on.
All right, moving things along here. Next up, we had a quick promo package for the Hurt Syndicate following their win at Double or Nothing with MVP and MJF hyping up Bobby Shelton's title defense. Max says that he'll stop at nothing to help them keep those titles. And he says he'll soon be getting back his Triple B. And if you stand in their way, don't be surprised to wake up in a pool of your own piss and blood. But just know with the Syndicate, it's not personal. It's just business.
Good line. Good line.
We then got a quick backstage promo for Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford to hype up their match. They claim that Anna and Harley cheated to get their win on Sunday. So now tonight's no DQ. With Bayne saying that means tonight they're going to be her sacrifice. We then came back from commercial to a backstage promo from Ricochet. And he says after his win at Double or Nothing, he wants to get back to getting gold in AEW. But looking at the landscape of things, he sees the Death Riders, he sees the Don Callis family, he sees the Hurt Syndicate. And what he really sees is that he needs a crew. So he's going to go find himself one, and then they will help him get gold, and then he'll continue on his quest to get that, basically.
It's going to be crew, isn't it?
They actually kind of make sense for him.
They really do. Like, similar attitudes, similar styles. It's going to be crew.
Yeah, he can. It'll almost be. I don't want to make this comparison too much, but like, you know, kind of like AR Fox runs with Top Flight. He'll be. Yeah. But he won't be in that role. He'll be leading them as opposed to being in a support role.
No, 100%.
But you know, the veteran leading the two younger guys. Although Leo Rush he's not a spring chicken, but he's still really cool.
He's a young veteran.
Young grizzled veteran. Wait a minute. All right. After this, we finally got to that no DQ tag team match between Anna Jay and Harley Cameron and Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. I forgot to write no DQ on the bottom, but whatever. I want to start by thanking Taz for calling out the crowd for chanting for tables. Can we stop with this, please? A, it's 99.9% of the time going to happen. And B, these women are out here already killing each other to start the match, and all you care about is a fucking table. enough.
So I 1,000% agree with you. I 1,000% agree with you. I can also admit I have absolutely been guilty of it in the past, where I won't ever start the chant. But then if there was a loud enough "We want tables" chant, I'm gonna be like, I do want a table. That would be cool. Why don't we have tables? But I do agree. I agree. Let the match happen. Because quite frankly, most of the time, if we're going to be real, the table spot is often not even in the top 3 of the spots in the match.
Yeah, people love them, but they end up being, they end up being fun, but yeah, not the top, one of the best spots in the match. So it drives me up the wall. Like I said, like they're already out there busting their ass, and you're gonna go out there and chant for stuff that's eventually going to and inevitably going to come out anyway. The only thing that the chant has led to is the face going under the ring, getting the table, and then the heel beating them up and pushing it back under for heat. That's the only good thing it does, and it's cheap, annoying heat to begin with. So Stop. Okay. Anyway, cover the end of this match. After Bayne got powerbombed through a table while also simultaneously taking a headshot to help.
But it was their choice for the table. It was their choice, not
yes, Bayne starts to stir, so Harley goes after her. However, Bayne is able to counter a wheelbarrow and slam Harley into the steps, bloodying. It was like her mouth and her nose.
Her nose. Or at least that's what they said, that it was her nose, that she had like a gash on her nose.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a shoot because A, the spot it was, and B, Paul Turner immediately called Doc Samson over.
Yeah.
And Harley was like, no, fuck off. I'm finishing this match. So I
love Harley so fucking much.
Yeah. And then they checked her immediately after, so she was busted open good. Anyway, after that happened back in the ring, Anna had a gory bomb on a chair on Penelope. However, Bayne was able to come in and just barely break it up. And then she got up and hit a Fate's Descent onto a chair, but Harley was able to recover and break that back up. Bayne then hit a lariat on Harley on the chair, but she kicked out. So Bayne gets forward up and just shakes her awake, basically. And then the two of them go after Cameron 2-on-1, hitting a Doomsday device, allowing Bayne to pin her for the win. James, I was pretty sure this match was going to be good because if you look at the roster, it's two of the women who have been in almost all of the really good women's tag team no disqualifications matches, and the girlfriend of Joey Janela. I think we were going to have a good one, and we did.
Girlfriend. Oh, no, it is Joey Janela.
Yep.
All right, I'll be honest. I thought you were talking about Penelope Ford, who was.
Oh, no, I was talking about Megan Bayne. No, I had Ford in the first category.
Has no right. He has no goddamn right.
Ford's in the first category because obviously her and Anna, as Excalibur mentioned, have a long history of these no DQ tag matches in AEW. They're always good. And this one was great. I loved it. I think the surprising thing was, unless, if Harley doesn't bust her face open by accident, they were going to go no blood on this one. And even with that, I know I still absolutely love this match. These women killed themselves. So good on that.
I miss Ty Conti so much because she was so good as a partner for Anna Jay. And they were some of the biggest pioneers of these women's tag team hardcore matches. Penelope Ford was also a big part of that with the bunny.
Yeah.
And I got to give it to everyone. Megan Bayne took a lot of damage in this match. She was getting ping-ponged back and forth between chair shots. And what was that? Was it a 2x4? A pipe.
Anna had the 2x4 initially, and then she dropped it in favor of the chair while Harley had the pipe.
Yeah.
That's her go-to move, apparently.
Then she went through the table. Harley obviously getting busted open in the face. Anna Jay just I don't want to say carrying the workload, but she did do a lot of the action. And Penelope Ford is just probably one of the most reliable talents they have on the women's side of things. So just excellent work from these ladies. It's funny because Danny and I were talking about the fact that we may be getting closer to women's tag titles, and the finals would probably be some combination of Bayne and Ford or Harley and Anna Jay, or maybe Toni and Nina. So we got it. We got the match. There was no real stakes on the line, but really fun.
And also I mentioned it, I think it was before you got back. We saw Chris Statlander watching the mixed tag match earlier. So, there's always the Statlander Nightingale team creeping as well.
Danny has Stat and Willow winning the inaugural titles, which I can see, or being the inaugural.
I would hope so. Honestly, I would hope so.
It should be. It really should be. But even that makes me sad because there were plenty of teams that should have been the inaugural at one point or another. But it's fine. We're here. It's cool. I'm glad we're here now. And if Stat and Willow become a team, their name should be Saturday Nightingale. Saturday Nightingale.
Good luck to everyone but Excalibur saying that on a consistent basis.
Seriously.
I'm here for the women's tag team division. I think, we always said, like, titles always just give people something to do. I know there's prestige and everything to them, but that's what they really are. They're MacGuffins. And the women's tag team division would open up so many avenues for so many more women because they do have a very deep roster now. They have a very deep women's division. So we saw today, and I guess I'm only partially doing this to piss you off, Deonna Purrazzo make a joke that she would only be on picture-in-picture tonight because she hasn't really been on AEW television lately. And, I think she's been working in Ring of Honor. She's with Taya Valkyrie, so that's another team you could throw in the tournament. But, yeah, that's how deep the roster is, where Deonna Purrazzo can't even get TV time.
I was reading some comments before. This might have been one of the heaviest women-centric episodes of AEW ever. We started the show, and we had Willow Nightingale in the first matchup. We move over. We have the Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford backstage promo, and then we had this match with them, and, of course, Anna Jay and Harley Cameron. We had the Jamie Hayter in-ring interview, which we're going to talk about shortly. And
even right after this match, we had Mercedes Moné roll up to Dynamite in the lowrider, which I don't have to cover. But
and then, of course, at the end, we have Mercedes and Toni. So a lot of women on this show, and none of it felt forced. It was all natural, and it's what we've been asking for. And it was amazing. It was great.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's a result of they were the healthiest people.
Maybe.
But hey, who cares? I will gladly take a women's heavy or women's centric episode of Dynamite. Because honestly, too, you said it, I didn't even notice. I didn't even realize because that's how good this division is.
Yep.
I did want to say because you mentioned Ty Conti or she's not Ty Mello, and her teaming with Anna and missing that tag team. And while I do miss that tag team a lot, Harley with Anna has been great together.
It has, and Danny and I were talking about this. They are a lot of fun. The problem is they're kind of a one-note joke team. Granted, it's a hell of a one note, It's a great note. But as opposed to Harley with Saraya, who was just such a perfect counter to her, and even to a lesser extent Mercedes, who was such a good foil to Harley, I don't know how much life is in the Anna Jay Harley Cameron team. Maybe it could grow. I'd be happy to see it grow, but I don't know that it should be a long-term team.
Perhaps not. I mean, when they had their promo a couple of weeks ago, I thought it was really funny, and we've just seen them more in ring recently than cutting promos. But I mean, also too, I think you can stick anybody with Harley, and she's going to make it work because she's that fucking talented. So,
yep, absolutely.
Wow,
it's right. It's the ladies' night, and the feeling is right. Oh, what?
We've come a long way from James Hates Women. James is now getting songs for the women.
It's called rehabilitation, Rev. Gosh.
True. Also, hey, Chris LeClaire, good to see you, man. Long time. Mentioned Sky Blue's having her first singles match since her return against Mina Shirakawa on Collision. And actually, I think it's going to be a very good match. That got a huge pop when it came up during the rundown. So I think Collision has quite a few women's matches as well. So this is going to be a very women's women's centric week of I think AEW, which is great.
We are here for it. And Chris, in case we don't see you again on Monday, happy upcoming birthday.
Very nicely done. Please come play on this, senor. All right. After this match, as I mentioned, we saw Mercedes roll up to Dynamite in that lowrider, and then we came to our next match, which was the Ops versus the Frat House. For those of you who haven't seen the Frat House, this is what they are. They're just frat dudes, and it's actually kind of funny.
Who the fuck is Griff Garrison?
Well, it's him, Preston Vance, and Cole Carter, and then I think their hype man was named Jameson. More importantly, though, as they were coming out, they first showed a replay of Hook showing up at Anarchy in the arena to help Joe, and then kind of blowing him off right after. And also, apparently, the Flat House went out and got drunk last night. So Jameson told us that they're looking for new pledges, but they didn't find any in El Paso because all the men are too skinny and the women are too fat or some bullshit like that. Anyway, then Preston Vance was yelling in everybody's face that, win or lose, we booze, and Samoa Joe decided he had enough of this and punched him in the face, and that started the match. The rest of the match was exactly what you expect. It was pretty quick, and it ended with Hobbs hitting like 7 straight spine busters, so like 7 different people because they had a bunch of pledges out there, even despite being hit with Jameson's like fraternity paddle. So, yeah, that's how I think it ended with him catching a pretty unfooted or poorly footed Cole Carter trying to attempt to dive and then spine bustering him for the win. But this was just to make the Ops look dominant again, and it did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, Maria, Rev answered your question before you could even really ask it. It was just designed to give them a win on TV. And
I think to remind everybody about Hook.
Yeah, I am going to be really annoyed if they turn Hook against this group. I am not going to like it in the slightest. 1, it's going to make Hook look dumb, and 2, we were so excited about him being part of this group. I will not be happy if he turns on this group. But
this is one of those places I just hope there's some common sense writing, and you just write in like, yeah, Hook is mad because in his eyes you replaced him, and Joe's just be like, dude, like, were we not supposed to win the titles? Like, were we not supposed to take revenge against the Death Riders? Like, what the fuck are we? And they just have it out, and then it's like, all right, my bad, and they dap and we move on. And if you want to.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you want to use that for, fuel for a heel turn much later, then fine. But don't do it now. It'd be really dumb.
I think that would be cool if it led to a match between him and Hobbs, where it's just them like getting the tension out, and then as soon as the match is over, like, all right, you know what? I'm glad you're part of the team. I'm back. We're good.
Yeah.
Just needed to get it out of my system.
Like, yeah, Joe and Shapata get in the middle of them, and like after the match ends, because they're probably still pushing and shoving, and they're just like, enough. Shake hands. We're done here.
Yeah. Fernando in the comments saying, hopefully they don't do that to Hook. We're with you. It's saying this was stupid, but at least it was short. And Christopher Leclerc saying that Powerhouse Hobbs is an upgrade. Ooh, interesting. I mean, I love Hobbs. I've been a Hobbs guy since day one, so I'm okay with it. But I love Hook too. I do love Hook.
I think I don't want to say upgrade's the right word, but I understand where he's coming from. Just because this group was supposed to help Hook like come into his character more, whereas I feel like Hobbs is a bit more of a finished product. So now we have more of a finished product team instead of let's help the young guy team. Yeah. So I could see what he's saying, but I think upgrade's the wrong word there. I don't know how else I would put it, but I understand the sentiment.
Yeah. It's saying they're often wrong, but he doesn't see a heel Hook. I'll be honest. I don't see a heel Hook working either on his own because he's just not that great with promos yet. He's gotten better. He's absolutely gotten more comfortable at being able to speak, but he's also at his best in pre-taped promos or like pre-taped segments. And if you're going to be a heel, you need to be able to talk crap on the mic live. So
he's been at his best in those like backstage segments with Joe, where they're like going around and like beating people up or whatever.
Exactly. Fernando saying that the frat gimmick is so WWE. I kind of agree with you there, Fernando. when I was watching them, first of all, I love Griff Garrison. I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface on how talented this kid is.
Yeah, he's great.
We haven't given him enough. I feel for Preston Vance. I think the guy just keeps getting better, but he, again, is someone else who has just been saddled with things that are not helping him. Like, I didn't even know he was part of this. I thought he was part of LFI for the longest time.
I only knew he was part of this because this is probably a couple of months ago now. He ran into the Dark Order, and they were just like, this is what you're doing now. Like, this is who you are. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, he talked shit back to them, and just like, wow, I can't believe Preston's like that. You know, he was like, well, everyone else left. Like, you know, you guys are doing such a great job too. Where's Five? Where's Stu? And like,
all right,
okay.
Legit, Five could come back. He's no longer with TNA. So I would be, and Alan Angels, the way he is now, would be a much better fit in AEW than he was before. So yeah. I would love to see that.
But that's the only reason I knew he was there. That's the only reason I knew this group existed. I just think they're mostly on Ring of Honor, and honestly, they do decent down there. I think, and I think the gimmick works better there as well.
I think the gimmick works better there, but I also think it can work well in AEW. They just need to actually introduce us to what this group is.
Yeah, this was real. Like, you guys watch Ring of Honor, right? And I was like, you're lucky I know who these fuckers are.
I think if they're developed, they could be a great foil to a team like Private Party.
Yeah,
I think they could be a great foil to a team like
Outrunners. I think an Outrunners feud would be fun.
That would be fun.
I could see them trying to recruit the Outrunners, and the Outrunners are like, yeah, well, we'll go work out, and then they're like, we're going to drink, and the Outrunners are like, we don't drink.
Fernando asking, didn't Hook start out as a heel? He did, but you got to remember the circumstances of that. He was a heel in a larger group where he was nowhere near the main focus.
Yeah, he was Team Taz, right?
Yeah, he was Team Taz, and that was at a time where Ricky Starks was in the group. Initially, Brian Cage still was in the group. Then Powerhouse Hobbs was in the group. He wasn't the focus until the end of that group. And by that point, he had already naturally sort of turned face.
At that, I was going to say, like, most of the group had turned face by then anyway, and that was pretty much the end of Team Taz as it was, because when he won the FTW championship off of Starks, like, that was the end of Team Taz anyway. So, yeah, like, he was barely a heel at that, and he didn't do a lot of run-ins and beatdowns and whatever, or at least not too many. But yes, he was at his best eating chips.
Yeah,
and with Danhausen.
And it's silly, but it naturally got him over. It was just a funny thing that the audience latched onto. Dark Order was better than this, Maria said. I agree. And let me say, if the Dark Order wins either the tag titles or the trios titles tomorrow, I don't care how little it makes sense. I will 1,000% be on that train.
Yeah.
I do not care. I still love the Dark Order. I still think that they have so much that they can offer AEW, and I still think they should be rewarded for being some of the most entertaining members of the roster during very dark periods. During COVID, they were carrying. They were such an influence on the Hangman rise to the top with the title. They have so much that I think that they should be rewarded for. And quite frankly, I don't see them beating the Ops for the trios titles. But, like, let them win the trios titles at some point. The three of those men have been going hard for so long. Yeah.
And, and this kind of ties in with the Hangman stuff too. But, like, following the death of Brody Lee, like, they were front and center of everything, and they handled it all with such grace and class, and, helping take care of little Brody and stuff. Like, yeah, they have been. I knew that was. Why did you put that up? They were a real integral part of AEW for a long time, and then they started losing members for one reason or the other, and things just started slowly winding back for them. And they're in Ring of Honor, and I think they're doing all right down there. But yeah, I do miss seeing these guys. Hopefully, if maybe, I don't know if it's going to be like in this run up to All In, or maybe if Hangman wins the title, whatever it is, like maybe there's something there with them, because there was for a minute the last, when Hangman was, on his steep descents. So maybe they can show back up for something like that, and maybe that gets them a little more involved. But for now, Seems like Ring of Honor is their home.
Yeah.
That and was it Mystery Wrestling? Is that what Uno runs?
Oh, it's so good.
It's
Every
it's really
clip I've
funny.
seen of it makes me want to be a part of it in some way. That's how good it is.
I am gonna miss because I think Ethan Page used to do the commentary with Uno, and they were great together.
He would have like rotating people. Like he has Nyla Rose sometimes. He's had a bunch of people throughout, but Ethan was great.
Well, they're really close friends, I'm pretty sure. So that's part of it. All right, let's keep things moving here. Next up, we had what started out as a in-ring interview with Jamie Hayter, as I will quickly read. You know, it's comment. Hangman was kind of Kenny Shadow. Dark Order help Hangman into the light, pun intended.
I'd agree.
Well said. Well said. As I was saying, Jamie Hayter was supposed to have an in-ring interview, and Renee Paquette was out there and introduced Jamie and asked what was next for her now that she lost the Owen Hart tournament. However, before Jamie can answer, the lights go out, and when they come back on, we hear the music and see the Tron of Thekla making her debut from Stardom. However, she doesn't come through the entrance. She instead comes from behind and blindsides Hayter, leaving her lying, and then she hits her spider for pose before just continuing to creep me out in the camera. However, they sold this woman like she is an absolute murderer. Obviously, she immediately took out Jamie Hayter, which I think is a big deal. And then Excalibur was saying on commentary that she got fired from Stardom because she attacked the president of the company. And if that is a hell of a way to sell a person coming into your
That's why
brand.
she came to AEW, because apparently you could do whatever you want to Tony Khan. The Bucks proved that. Jack Perry proved that. Okada proved that. So I get it. That follows the canon very well. So I'm really excited to see Thekla here. There was a lot of speculation at some point that Thekla was going to WWE, and quite frankly, no.
Good.
No. So this is a great. They are. I don't want to say rebuilding the women's division, but there was a moment where things were starting to look a little thin.
Yeah, because like Dr. Britt Baker, DMD had her injury. Rio's gone. Sheeta's, not gone, but they're in Japan all the time.
Apparently Sheeta's dealing with visa issues. That's
I heard. Yeah, that and Kenny is taking care of her cat. I read all about that. But yeah, but even then, they're both, I think, still in Japan a lot. Thunder Rosa was hurt for all that time. So yeah, there was a lot of injuries to the women's division, and you're right, it was very thin. And Jamie Hayter obviously was hurt too. But you have Mercedes come in, you have Bayne come in, now you have Thekla come in, along with a lot of women coming off the shelf like Thunder Rosa. And yeah, your women's division is deep again.
I'm happy to see it. Quite frankly, pretty much everywhere women's wrestling is doing very well. It is the shining jewel of NXT. On the main roster side of WWE, we could argue about how they're being booked, but we can't argue the talent that's there.
Yeah.
And TNA is rebuilding. They just signed some new women. And somehow Masha overcame Tessa Blanchard. So everybody...
Thank God.
Seriously.
You know why? Because you can't have people chanting she's a racist at your champ.
Oh, they will. She's teased that she wants to go after the world title again. So give it time. She's going to beat Trick. Be ready for it. She's going to beat Trick.
Yeah, that's a different... Trick is a different discussion for another day, but...
I Goose Fraba.
Es para mañana.
But I'm really happy to see Thekla land here. I think her versus Hayter is a great first feud, but I am concerned. I don't want to see Hayter lose again.
That's very true.
So it's weird. It's weird, but it's going to be good.
Yeah, Chris saying a pairing of Thekla, Sky Blue, and Julia Hart could make an interesting combination.
Yeah,
they do have the spooky aesthetics. It all kind of works. Although Julia and Sky, add them to the women's tag division. You were in business to get them already.
Do you remember for a split second when Sky Blue was injured, they used her for babyface, heating up for Queen Aminata because Mariah May took out an injured Sky Blue? She was on the crutch, and then Mariah May knocks out the crutch, so Queen Aminata made the save.
Vaguely.
I feel like I'm the only one who remembers that, because then she came back as a heel, and everyone was like, "Of course, she was a heel when she left." It's like, but you don't remember, like...
Was it Rampage?
No, it wasn't Rampage.
Or Collision?
Maybe Collision, but I don't even know.
I have
I just
no
know that it
recollection.
happened. I know I watched it on my screen, which would indicate to me, no, it might have been the pre-show of a pay-per-view. Either way, it happened. Either way, it happened.
I believe you. I believe you. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for Tekla. I haven't seen her in the ring, but everything I hear about her, she's really fucking good. So yeah, this division's deep. Although I did want to say before we move on, because you mentioned the roster thinning out, and I was just also thinking though, like it did, but I think we ended up getting some more stars out of it because people like Blue and Hart, and then like Willow. Yeah. There was a lot of women that had to step up, and they, I think, really filled those roles well. And
Aminata.
Yeah, and she's even been a lot more recent as well. But all those women stepped up. They filled great spots. They became stars, and now as women come back, women come in, you have such a deep roster that it's insane.
Yeah. Yep.
So the hype is real. All right. After this, we had a quick video package for CMLL's Mystico. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of him in AEW. Plus, on Collision, they're doing a lot of CMLL matches since they're in El Paso. And that's a thing you do when you're in El Paso historically. And then we moved on to a TNT Championship match between Adam Cole, Bayne, and Kyle Fletcher. This actually got announced tonight, like a couple hours before the show started. So it came a little out of nowhere, but Fletcher did pin Kyle O'Reilly on Sunday in the only match I didn't see because I got tired and went to bed. I watched the show out of order, so because I bought it and it wouldn't let me start it from the beginning for some stupid reason. So I was at Anarchy in the Arena, and it was like the middle of it, so I turned it off, waited a bit, and turned it right back on for the start of the main event.
Gotcha.
Watched the main event, and then went back and watched it from the beginning, and then stopped right before that 6-man tag because I was just like, all right, it's like 4:30 in the morning. I'm going to bed. I got to drive home tomorrow.
This six-man tag had the most thankless job I think any match has ever had in professional wrestling of being sandwiched in between the Anarchy in the Arena and then the incredible main event that was Ospreay Hangman. And I joked about it when we covered it yesterday, or Monday. This was a great Dynamite main event. It would have been an incredible Dynamite main event.
Especially with the stuff that happened after.
Yeah. But on that card, they struggled. And it's not their fault. They had a good match. The crowd did warm up to them eventually. They did. But
everyone was exhausted from jumping up and down to let the bodies hit the floor.
And they knew that they needed to save whatever reserves they had left for Ospreay and Hangman, which they did. So it was, God bless them. They put on a good match, but that was terrible. Terrible timing.
But in the context of the show, it was that match and the win by Fletcher that I guess allowed him to get this TNT title match tonight. So early in the match, it was like right before commercial, Rocky and Trent, who are both dicks in real life, tried to interfere, but they got taken out by Paragon and they fought to the back. And then right after this, Fletcher tried to hit a power bomb on the apron on Cole, and it kind of missed. And I thought Cole had another concussion and was going to be out, 8 to life because that looked so bad, I thought. But thankfully, it wasn't nearly as bad as he looked, and he was okay. I just got really nervous because of Cole's concussion history.
Yeah. He's a fragile little guy.
Yeah. Even though he's a fat ass. Anyway, at the end of the match, after counting a brain buster with a neck breaker, Cole headed up to the ropes and hit the Panama Sunrise. And then he pulled the knee pad down to lower the boom, but he got blindsided by Josh Alexander, who sprinted down the ramp and into the ring to cause a disqualification. Fletcher and Alexander then began the beatdown, but Brody King, who was about to face Alexander next, he came out with a chair to make the save and chase the other 2 guys off. So this is one of those weird ones because we actually had a DQ in AEW. I don't know why.
I think it's because they wanted to protect Fletcher from taking another pin or another loss. Like a DQ loss is a DQ loss. It doesn't mean anything.
Well, I guess I was going to say I do know why, but like it was interesting to see them. They're just so few and far between in AEW, especially one of these two where it's just a dude blatantly attacking another dude for his opponent's help, so to speak, or to save him from the loss. And you so rarely see it. And I'll just mention it now. After the Brody Alexander match, we came back from commercial to Kyle Fletcher cutting a backstage promo where he was very upset that somebody had made the call without telling him to send Alexander in.
Yeah.
And he
looked frustrated when it was happening too.
Yeah. And he was yelling that he didn't need any help and he would have beaten Cole. And as he was screaming, Cole came over and they started brawling before security quickly pulled them apart. And they were both yelling at each other. Primarily, Cole was yelling at Fletcher that they were going to kill each other. So I think that's the more interesting thing to come out of this match. This match was good. It was like it was getting cooking, whatever. But I think the thing is, A, you prolong that feud, and B, as Excalibur mentioned, you're kind of seeing maybe a crack in the Don Callis family for the first time in a while.
I hope not. Like, I think Fletcher works so well as a heel right now. And I don't want to see him turn on that group because he is the centerpiece of that group, undoubtedly. Like Takeshita's the ace of that group, but you know that Fletcher is the center. He's meant to be the crown jewel.
Yeah, so, he's the guy they're like really building for the future. Because Takeshita is set, in my opinion. Yeah, that guy's good. But B, like I feel like he's a guy who's probably going to be with Don for a while, just because. I mean, you could turn him babyface, but.
Who, Fletcher or Takeshita?
No, Takeshita. Yeah. But like Don being his, mouthpiece just works a lot better for him than it does Fletcher. Fletcher can cut a promo and eventually, if Don turns on Fletcher, you can turn him babyface probably no problem. So I think, I agree with you. Like this is the group. This is a group for somebody to talk to for Takeshita, and B, to truly build Fletcher into the star that he can be.
I agree. I don't know. I it sounds like I'm getting away from Fletcher, but I'm not. I'm so cold on Cole. Like it hurts. Like I'm sad at how much I'm just not invested in Cole anymore.
Yeah, and I agree.
I was watching this match thinking to myself, I'd be okay if Fletcher won.
Oh, I called him a cow. I saw this was booked, and I was just like, "Look, Fletcher, win, you cowards!"
Yeah, seriously. I don't know what you can do to heat up Cole. I really don't know what you could do for him anymore. Like it sucks because he's so goddamn good,
and he has a title. And not that nobody cares, but he's on Collision every week.
It's not even just the Collision aspect of it. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's not even the Collision aspect. He's so stagnant even with the TNT title. Yeah. I've never been one of those people who's like, God, he needs a gimmick change, but like something needs to change. Something needs to be done to make him feel important. The TNT title was not it.
I know, because I think we've had this discussion before about how Cole has been the same character since
Ring of Honor.
Since Bullet Club.
Yeah,
like, nothing has changed from then through NXT, and now in AEW, NXT, then New Japan / Ring of Honor through NXT and now AEW. He's the same guy. It's just whether he's heel or face. Literally, whether he's heel or face, he's the same person. Yeah, it's just whether whether we're while he's wrestling or not. Yeah,
exactly. Whether
it's
we're
the same move set. Yeah, it's the same move set. It's the same lines. And we all go Adam Cole, Bay, and who's ready for story time, but it's same old. I don't want to say, but it's same old shit.
Yeah, like it is. It's a real bummer because I love this dude. He's a great human being in real life. I enjoy his matches so much. I have such fond memories of him. But at this point, if he doesn't win the world title, like he's sadly almost a case of he never was. Like I know that's harsh. I know that's harsh, but it's kind of true.
I would go. I like. It's more of like I think he's like Hall of Very Good. You know, there's always those players. You're like, how is that dude not in the Hall of Fame? And it's like it's the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of Very Good. Like he's currently there, and he's kind of running out of time to like really cement the Hall of Fame legacy, which is wild to say about Adam Cole, especially because of where he was.
Dude's a former multi-time Ring of Honor champion, a former multi-time NXT World Champion. Was part of one of the, at the time, before things fell apart, one of the most interesting stories AEW had ever told, really, with MJF. Granted, obviously, everything fell apart in that, but like the first round of it was good.
Yeah.
We know what he's capable of. It's just been a lot of bad luck, like truly bad luck. But I don't know. I bring all that up because then you have the flip side of it where Fletcher is so hot right now. He's so hot right now. Quite frankly, I think he should have been the one to take the title off of Danny Garcia. I don't think Cole should have taken it off Garcia. I think it should have been Fletcher.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I would have personally, I would have rather see Fletcher take the title off of Garcia. Cole takes the title off Fletcher down the road. And the Paragon could have done stuff with the trios titles.
Yeah, I mean, they were feuding for them. Obviously, they kept losing.
Yeah, they lost, but like...
That's another thing, too. Like, I love Roddy and I love Kyle, but they've also kind of been the same guys for a while now, too. So, you know, at least Kyle...
Well, yeah, I was going to say, the conglomeration added some levity and some light there.
Yeah, like Kyle's... Yeah, he was the only guy who actually kind of changed because he was hanging out with Mark Briscoe. So I give him a little bit more credit, which is, again, insane to say because you would think Adam Cole's a character guy, and it's Kyle who's probably had the most character changes since NXT. So, yeah, it's wild. It really is.
Let's
I was going to say a lot of comments because I'm going to start with Maria's.
Yeah.
Saying the injury hurt Cole since he missed so much time and he got cooled off. And you can say that happened to him twice.
Yeah.
Because he had the concussion and he had the broken ankle. And the ankle, as you mentioned, James, it led to the Devil storyline really hurting him. I think the MJF BFF storyline was great, so I'll disagree with you there, Maria. And then he snapped his ankle, so it didn't work as well.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the eventual turn just fell flat because he wasn't able to do anything. And I really wish they could have tried to pivot at some point, but, you know, Toni hates a pivot. So,
you know, it's saying he thought he looked better than right after the injury, but there's still something missing. There still seems like something's missing, which I agree. That something is off. And that, you know, agreeing with Maria and us that the story was just unfortunately very messy.
Yeah. And maybe he just still doesn't trust the ankle all the way. You know, I mean, he does have a dead person's ankle in his foot. So maybe it's something like that. I mean, maybe he'll just never be the same. Like when you have a devastating injury like that, sometimes you're just not the same athletically. So he's still going out there and having good matches, good to great matches. But yeah, maybe that's just something's off. And I want to just, Maria, one last comment here. They should have a rematch at All In and Fletcher wins the TNT Championship. I'm here for that.
And it kind of goes even further because commentary noted it was that All In that Cole and MJF took the Ring of Honor titles off of Aussie Open.
Ah, yeah.
So that would be sort of a full circle moment that I think people would be in for.
How's Davis doing, by the way? I know he got hurt. Do we have any updates on him?
The guy's got the worst luck I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for him. He came back. He looks like he's starting to get some momentum, and he immediately gets hurt again. Meanwhile, his tag team partner was shooting into proto stardom.
Yep.
Pun intended. All right, but speaking of, you know, Don Callis family members, let's hit that Brody King, Josh Alexander match. Now, this was a qualifying match for the AEW International Championship 4-way next week on Fyter Fest. So it'll be Kenny Omega against the winner of this match, and then there's 2 more qualies on Collision. I don't exactly remember.
Are you ready for 4 hours of Dynamite next week?
Yeah, I saw that when they were talking about that 4-way match, and I was just like, I'm sorry, what? I have to go live at midnight on a Wednesday?
Is it starting early or is it ending late?
I don't know. I hope it starts early.
Oh, you and me both.
That may be one of those we'll cover it on Thursday. Like, I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see how good it is. We'll see.
Yeah, that too. Anyway, speaking of good, I like this. Coming out of the commercial, obviously after Brody made the save for Cole, they had a bunch of security spill in, and they were holding Brody and Alexander back from each other. But as we were coming out of commercial, they all fought the security off and went at each other. So Bryce Renzer just rang the bell. It was just a lot easier. So that started the match. Alexander ended up working over Brody's right arm throughout the match, including wrapping around the ring post and exposing the top turnbuckle while they were up on the ropes. And then he was able to pull Brody's arm down over the exposed turnbuckle, which I thought was pretty cool. Because it wasn't like the corner turnbuckle. It was the piece that extended to the ring post. So I like that a lot. Anyway, we had Alexander then hit a German suplex with the bridge on Brody, and I guess Brody landed on his face because Alexander's nose exploded. Or something happened.
Really, he was gushing.
Yep. Or actually, I think they said he had a gash like in between his nose and his eye. Whatever it was. He was dripping blood. So despite that, Alexander still went up to the top for what I believe was a moonsault. However, Brody got the knees up and countered, and then he took down Alexander with a lariat using the right arm, which good call by Riccaboni there. And then Brody quickly followed that up with a Gonzo bomb, which honestly didn't look great, and pinned Alexander for the win. And now he will be in that four-way match for the AEW International Championship at Fighter Fest next week. James, it was good. I mean,
it was good.
Didn't blow me away. I don't know how much the blood affected the ending.
Yeah.
Especially with that Gonzo bomb, it looked like Alexander just had a tough time getting up for Brody, or Brody had a tough time getting up. Either way, I thank God Alexander didn't land on his head, but hopefully he's okay. And Brody in that match next week should be fun.
It's really funny to me how I just keep getting screwed by this monkey's paw. That it's like, yay, Josh Alexander's in AEW. Yay, Brody King finally got a win. Oh, it was over Josh Alexander, who's kind of been taking the losses for the group. Oh no. Still, I'm actually kind of glad that Josh didn't win, because I would legitimately just like to see Kenny Omega versus Josh Alexander. I don't need it to be a fatal four-way.
Fair. I was kind of looking forward to that interaction, but yeah, I think I agree with that. Like that sounds like a better one-on-one match.
Yeah. And anything that keeps Kenny away from the Don Callis family for even a second longer.
That is also very true. I did check the other qualifiers for Collision. We have Hechicero against Mascara Dorada, and then Claudio Castagnoli against Commander, which was set up, obviously, in the opening match of the evening.
Speaking of the luchadors, can we take a second to acknowledge that Mystico hype package that they gave us?
Yeah, I mentioned it, but I just kind of glossed over it. But yeah, go ahead if you want to talk about it.
I don't care how you try to paint him. I don't care what bells and whistles, what name you want to call him. That's fucking Sin Cara. Okay? I remember.
Which one?
The original. That is the OG Sin Cara. No, you will not get me excited for Sin Cara. I don't care.
That is the weirdest rabbit hole to go down. Mystico, Sin Cara, this guy's Sin Cara, this guy was Mystico, but now he's Mystico. Like, it's you need a flow chart.
He got the name Mystico back because the Mystico who took over from him left the company. So he got to be Mystico again.
Right, because he came back as something else and then he got Mystico again, which just, it's all very confusing.
It's exhausting. But I don't care what his name is. No.
Maria, yes, there were two Sin Caras, and it was just ridiculous because Mystico was a botch machine in WWE, and B got hurt. So then they replaced him with the guy who was Hunico, which is one of the Cologne family.
No, I don't think that's true.
Didn't he run with them then or something? I thought Hunico was ran with them at some point. I guess I'm wrong. I told you, this is a weird rabbit hole. It's super confusing. But anyway, so he became Sin Cara, and then the original Sin Cara came back But then one of them was like Sin Cara Negra, and the other one was just Sin Cara, and they had a mask match or rights to the name or whatever it was?
Well, like it was a mask match, and Unico lost. He became Unico, and he partnered with Tonga Loa, who was being paraded around as a Latino star. None of it makes sense.
This is a weird time.
And then the Sin Cara who won the right to stay Sin Cara got fired from WWE. So they took Unico back and made him Sin Cara without anybody knowing it. And then that Sin Cara started teaming with Kalisto.
Yeah.
Before being dropped by Kalisto, who joined the Lucha House Party with
Lince Dorado and Gran Metalik.
Gran Metalik, thank you.
Oh, if I'm not mistaken, is also Mascara Dorado.
I don't know anymore. We were corrected on that. I'm not sure if that's true anymore. So all I know is
no, it's not him.
I need an aspirin.
Yeah, it's very confusing. It is a very long rabbit hole. If you get bored one night,
let's not even get into Dragon Lee and Realistico. Let's not even get into those two. Oh my God.
Yeah. It mentioned something about the Knicks Pacers game. I don't want to talk about them, so I'm just not going to put that comment up. All right. So, as I mentioned after this match, we had the Kyle Fletcher backstage promo, and then we went to our final segment of the evening, which was the much promoted face-off between the AEW Women's World Champion, Timeless Toni Storm, and TBS Champion, Rev Pro Women's Champion, and winner of the women's side of the Owens Hart tournaments, Mercedes Moné. So Mercedes comes out and she starts the proceedings, addressing the crowd, saying she is not only the greatest TBS and Rev Pro champion of all time, but she is now also the greatest Owen Hart tournament winner of all time. She then says that legends like Owen and Eddie and her hero, Eddie Guerrero, for the cheap pop in El Paso, don't even compare to her, which is why she is the CEO of AEW. Mercedes goes to continue. Hey, Oklahoma City. Yeah, they were up like 30 by the time we started, Chris. That was long over. Good for them, though. Anyway, Mercedes attempts to continue, but Tony's music interrupts, and the AEW Women's Champion comes down to the ring, takes her shoes off, and lays the title between her and Moné. Mercedes is like, we finally meet. But we all know that the AEW fans are tired of black and white, and they want a champion full of color. Tony then kind of stares her down and says she's waited a long time for Mercedes after she arrived on a show named after her. I think it was like 400 and something days ago. And since then, Moné has won titles and remained undefeated, but not once did she look at Toni or talk to her. Mercedes had said that this is the one match she wanted, including telling that to this, she called him Anthony Khan, right? Use the full government. And that's what took her so long. Mercedes says she was being patient, which is something that Toni wouldn't understand, and building her legacy. And she wasn't just going to walk around backstage shaking anyone's hand, just anyone's hand, since she is the Beyonce of wrestling and the revolution and the evolution and all that stuff. Toni then says she's the Toni Storm of wrestling, which I like implies that she doesn't know who Beyonce is, which perfectly works for her character. And that Mercedes has never met anyone like her. Mercedes responds that Toni obviously isn't the nervous young girl she met 10 years ago, but Mercedes says that she isn't the same woman that Toni met 10 years ago, and she has changed from a boss to a CEO. They're all in. They're going to go there and have the greatest women's match of all time. She is going to walk out AEW Women's Champion. Toni then says that they took similar paths, including things like fighting through the indies and stuff, and eventually ending up in AEW where they were supposed to be because they were able to become who they were supposed to be. But while Mercedes...
I like that.
Yeah. No, I really did, because like their characters, I mean, Sasha Banks / Mercedes Moné are fairly similar, but Toni would not be this character had she not gone to AEW. Sure. And Mercedes wouldn't be able to wrestle the way she's wanted to had she not gone to AEW. Anyway, while Mercedes has all those titles, Toni says that she only needs the one she has fought for, bled for, and died for. So if Mercedes wants to ride the Moné train through the Toni tunnel, then she better hope it's long enough. Mercedes responds that not even Toni's hips are wide enough for the Moné train. So Toni says that in 45 days, some young girl is going to watch them and say, holy shit, these bitches are crazy. And then they'll find out who the best woman is. Because while Mercedes might call herself the greatest of all time, she is timeless. Toni counters that while she might be timeless, somebody needs to let her know that her time is up. And then the two stare each other down before Mercedes drops the 2 titles that she had on her shoulders and extends her hands out for a shake. Toni accepts, and the 2 women shake hands, but they pull each other closer for a face-to-face. And then Toni smells Mercedes before backing up, curtsying a little, and kissing her hand. Mercedes takes advantage of this after being a little confused and pulls Toni in and goes for a Moné maker, but Toni counters into a Storm Zero attempt, but Mercedes is able to shake out of that and bails out of the ring, allowing Toni to dance and mock Mercedes' entrance, which was great. So, James, this was a very interesting face-to-face. I am very excited for this match. I'm excited to see how this all plays out. But I guess to juxtapose it with the opening segment, because it was similar in terms of the not the champion, but the Owen Hart tournament winner coming out. I think that there's obviously Hangman has the subplot of the Swerve and Will thing. We don't have a subplot here yet. So because there is so much time, I am interested to see how they kind of pad it out a little. And so because I think that's going to be an issue if they don't do something else in between.
I agree to an extent, but I think that there's going to be it's all about the focus. Because let's look at Logan's comment real quick here. Logan saying Mercedes Moné versus Toni Storm is the biggest women's match in AEW history. 2 top-tier stars, one known for in-ring excellence, the other known for unmatched character work.
Which is to say that the other, each woman is not good at the other thing as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's one of those things that the feud here between Toni and Mercedes, it's all about them. There is nothing else there. This is the 2 top people in the division going at it to see who's the best. One has a bunch of belts. One has the belt. Who should be the champion? There is compelling story there that you can tell. Granted, there's probably going to be a week or 2 that we feel like was fat that could have been trimmed. But overall, they're telling a very linear story. As opposed to Hangman and Moxley, this isn't about Hangman and Moxley. This is so much bigger. This is about AEW as a whole. And I don't want to take away from the women. I don't want to take away from what this match is. Because quite frankly, this is Superstar A versus Superstar B. Who is going to be number 1? Yeah.
Rock Stone Cold of women's wrestling, as Maria calls it.
Maria, I don't know if you like fist pump. All right? Same brain. Maria's saying she doesn't think they need a subplot in this because it's The Rock versus Stone Cold of women's wrestling. I agree with you. And I'm going to let you guys in on a secret that a lot of people don't talk about. WrestleMania 17 that had one of the greatest main events of all time, which was The Rock versus Stone Cold 2. The build-up for that was awful.
Yeah, I was reading about the other day.
I remember it. Terrible. I don't think we're going to get anything nearly as bad as that. And I think we're in good shape here. So Hangman Mox, there's going to be lots of twists and turns. There's going to be Swerve. There's going to be Ospreay. There's going to be the Death Riders. There's going to be a lot.
The Bucks, Gabe Kidd, and who else? Who knows who else will get involved?
There's a lot there. As opposed to Mercedes and Toni, I could see both of those women having a lot of singles matches in the time in between.
Yeah.
So, and of course, when you do have somebody like Toni Storm, you could have weeks where she's not even there live, but she's doing some great pre-tapes. some very entertaining storytelling just by like being her movie star self.
Yeah.
So I think we're in line for a really good build if they're smart with it.
And no, and that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying this needs a subplot. It clearly does not. I'm just, like I was saying, there's quite a few weeks into All In.
Yes.
And I'm hoping there isn't a lot of fat, as you mentioned, on it, just because I think this match, which I am 100% confident is going to be good, no matter how shitty the build is or isn't. Hopefully it's not. But I'm hoping that the match that I'm expecting gets the build it deserves, so that the hype is even higher than it already is.
Yes.
So that's all I'm hoping. That's all I'm, again, a little trepidatious about. But I think at the moment I need to trust Tony Khan, I need to trust RJ City, and I need to trust Tony Storm and Mercedes, because they're all firing on all cylinders right now. So I have faith. It's just something in the back of my mind. I was like, this is going to be a long build. So hopefully they are able to do it properly. Yeah. And Maria brings up a good point. Like, Mercedes might still have to defend the TBS.
I hope not.
I think she'll defend once or twice, but she'll win. You can't have her going to this not undefeated.
I'll be honest. I thought Maria was saying at the pay-per-view, in which case I would be, please God, no.
Oh, that would suck.
Between now and the pay-per-view, absolutely. You guys are right. Yeah, she will most likely defend the TBS title, or at the very least have eliminator matches.
Yeah. One or the other. We've seen Toni do a run of them recently.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, I guess either way, if you do eliminator matches or you do actual championship matches, I think at this point, like, you just basically know nobody's going to win them. But I do think that having them have matches and more than likely having the other on commentary will, I think, help do a lot for the build. So
I agree.
I think we end up with a lot of that. Posing a very good question. Does all time exist in the quantum timeless realm? I am not a marine biologist. To borrow a line from James. I think, you have to ask Scott Lang that one. I don't know. And Maria also noticing they almost laughed a couple of times, the both of them.
I believe
Toni was pretty good about it. You could tell Mercedes was going to bust out laughing quite a few times, especially when Toni smelled her. Like that one, Mercedes was like, she was probably biting the shit out of her tongue. That kid is corpsing. That is not them actually breaking. That is corpsing.
Yes, that is corpsing.
Because Mercedes was going to lose it right there. Because I was laughing my ass off. It was really funny. And what was like a great and serious promo, because Toni had to get one reference in there, and it was right around the train where Mercedes really started to break, and then saying the young girl is going to go, holy shit, these bitches are crazy. And you saw Mercedes just go, oh man, come on.
Great line.
It was a lot of fun. All right, but that was Dynamite, James. And as you mentioned, I did like your lower third that this was the cigarette following the romp that was a Double or Nothing. But I still think we had a good show here, considering everything we've kind of learned and considering everything that happened. Because I thought we had great bookend segments to open the show with the Owen Hart winners, which really helped set up their runs to All In. And then we had a few things setting up some other stuff. Ricochet is going to be looking for a crew. We see the Death Riders bounce back in a good match. We're setting up for this four-way match next week for the International Championship. The no DQ match of the night, I thought, bar none, I think, honestly. And even though the Death Riders match was still a lot of fun. But considering, a lot of people are apparently banged up from Double or Nothing, and, the rest of them are probably just exhausted, I enjoyed this. I very much enjoyed this. And as you mentioned earlier, we got a women-centric Dynamite, which is something I'm not sure we've ever really had. Yeah. So, score another one.
This was a nice little epilogue to a great pay-per-view. It set the stage for what's coming next, while also not closing the book on what had happened at the pay-per-view, but allowing us to move forward from it. So well done, good show, fun show, good action, great storytelling, and I'm very excited. I'm excited as a fan for next week. I am dreading covering it, but we will be here.
We are going to talk about that as a podcast, aka me and you will discuss
as
it.
a family, we will discuss it.
And we will see how we are going to handle that, and we will let all of you know. Because
next week, Orange Cassidy's coming back, Darby Allin's coming back, Eddie Kingston's coming back.
You think?
Fuck it, we'll just do it. We'll just do it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. I mean, look, I'll be up. Lord knows I'll be awake.
Right?
Yeah. Maria calling this episode, though, the great dessert after the fantastic meal we got on Sunday.
You are correct.
Yeah, in the dessert in the desert. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this, and I'm really excited for this run up to All In. All In is going to be unbelievable. We barely even know the match card, so we only officially know 2 matches, and we think we know a third.
Yeah.
So, but I'm still excited. But yeah, for an all hands on deck type of day, this was a good one. All right. And on that note, I would like to thank everybody so much for watching us here at the Mark It Down Podcast. We appreciate it. If you like to subscribe, if you like the video, it lets us know that you're enjoying what we're doing, and we'll continue to do it. And if you subscribe, you can continue to get all the great shows we do here on the pod. James, I presume, is doing a Gym Pack Zone tomorrow. Are we back, or are you too depressed about an NXT guy winning a title?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know how I want to handle TNA moving forward. Things are very up in the air right now. I am making it my goal to cover tomorrow just to sort of talk about the state of TNA. Bye, Maria. Even if tomorrow is not necessarily a straight up review, there will be a TNA video because I got to talk about what's going on.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably a good thing. Thank you, good show, Chris. Again, happy birthday. We hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, yeah. So if you subscribe, you can hear James cry about Impact tomorrow, and then we will see what goes on next week with Dynamite. But hopefully, if you guys subscribe, we will let you know, and we will also let you know on all our social medias: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Blue Sky. Excuse me. All in the description below. If you're here on YouTube, if you're not here on YouTube and you're watching over on Twitter or Facebook, and you want to follow us in some other places. At @marketdown_pod on Twitter, at marketdownpod on Twitter, on Instagram, youtube.com/marketdown3665, and then marketdownpod.bsky.social over on Blue Sky. So check us out in those places or subscribe here, and we'll let you guys know what we're doing for that 4-hour Dynamite next week, because we might either break it up or we might cover it Thursday since James wants to send Impact into the sun.
I don't want to, but they're making it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and it already. Oh, the teaser for tomorrow, the WWE effect on TNA. Yeah. There you go, guys. So subscribe so you can hear James rant about that. James, anything else you want to get off your chest before we get out of here?
Wrestling is the best of times and the worst of times. If you're an AEW fan, it is the best of times. If you're a WWE fan, it is the times. And if you're a TNA fan, we're all probably just going to kill ourselves. So,
well, now that we're going to get demonetized for that, because
we'll edit it out of the video. well, at the last second, what up, Dev?
Dev at the buzzer. Hello, we must be going.
Sorry, issue, Dev. Have a good one.
Yep. We hope you watch the show back and agree with what we're saying. Comment otherwise, Dev, and we'll try to get back at you in there. But for James Santi, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching us here at the Mark It Down Podcast. I have to go learn how to repronounce my name, so have a good night, everyone.